Watch out, it's a live mic.
This is Mark McNeese in New York City, and you're listening to another edition of the Live Mic Podcast. Welcome to another podcast, everyone. This is Mark, and I have a recurring guest on today. One of my favorite, it's Dave Hughes, who has RetireFabulously.com. He also has a book out and just all kinds of wonderful stuff. Dave, how are you?
I'm doing great this morning. Thank you, Mark. It's always great to be back.
It is, and we're going to talk about some great stuff today. I noticed in your most recent column, you mentioned a book that I gave to my husband for Christmas, which I believe it's The Magic of Tidying Up.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about changes for 2016, and then also I want to hear about this award that you just won for your wedding officiant business. So would you like to start?
Well, let's go ahead and talk about the award for my wedding officiant business, and
Okay.
that's kind of short and sweet, but that'll get us going. So, as some of you who have either read my columns or listened to my earlier podcasts with Mark may know, one thing I do besides all of my writing for Retire Fabulously is I am a wedding officiant. And the way that came about is, marriage equality arrived in Arizona in October of 2014. And right about the same time, two of my best friends were getting married, and they had asked me to officiate their wedding. And to make a long story really short, I did a good job of that and enjoyed it and realized I might have found a calling here. And I was at the right place at the right time business-wise, because now suddenly we had this backlog of gay couples who had been together 20 or 30 or in one case 42 years that were now able to get married, when they couldn't before. And so I became a wedding officiant and put myself out on several websites and had a very good year this past year doing that kind of work. And one of the websites that I'm listed on is called Wedding Wire.
Mm-hmm.
And they are one of two large national-based websites that are, among other things, are big directories of providers. So if you're going to get married in whatever location you're in, you can go to this site and find all sorts of photographers and venues and wedding officiants and cake bakers and florists and DJs and everything else you could imagine. Anyway, and it's funny because the reason I got on there was only because there's a website called gayweddings.com that Wedding Wire ultimately bought. And in order to get onto gayweddings.com, I also had to list with Wedding Wire. And so I kind of thought, well, okay, so this means I'm going to be, marrying straight couples too. And I thought, well, I believe in marriage equality. Mm-hmm. So I do believe that straight people should be able to get married too.
Yes, yeah. We should let them get married also.
I know, that's true. But anyway, so one of the features of Wedding Wire is that they really encourage their vendors to get their customers to leave reviews for them afterwards. And so, everybody has, 26 5-star reviews or 52 5-star reviews or whatever. And so I've asked all of the clients that I've married if they'll go on Wedding Wire and leave me a review. And they've done so, and I've gotten some really sterling reviews that's almost surprised me. It's almost like, really? I did that good a job for you? You were that pleased? All I did was stand up and read a script and get you to say I do,
Mm-hmm.
And, but anyway, all this is to say that every year Wedding Wire selects their top 5% of all their providers countrywide based on the quality and I guess quantity of their reviews, and awards them this little designation called the Couples Choice Award. And I just found out that I got it for the 2015 year, which frankly surprised me because I've always sort of thought of myself as a small fish in a rather large pond.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I got this award, so I'm really happy about that, and it's a nice little. They give you a nice little icon to put on your website and all that sort of thing. So yeah, that was really nice. And the last thing I'll say about this before we leave the topic of weddings is I've really noticed a shift in my business, a very radical one, and that is that through most of 2015, I'd say about 75% of my customers were gay couples, and the other 25 gay or lesbian, and they're split just about evenly, by the way. And then the remaining 25% are straight couples. Well, I think we've cleared out the backlog of gay couples waiting to get married. And so that I see that business dropping. Whereas now that I'm getting more reviews and all that on Wedding Wire, I'm getting more and more inquiries from straight couples. And so I think for 2016, that percentage is probably going to flip-flop. I'm probably going to get at least 3/4 straight business and only about a quarter gay or lesbian business.
I also wanted, first of all, I was really excited about that for you. And I also wanted to just briefly mention that this venture for you came about unexpectedly, and it's one of the things that you talk about in retirement or Renaissance.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite word for that is that you don't know what might happen as long as you stay open to opportunities. You didn't know you were going to start this business.
Exactly.
In retirement, and that's a good thing to let people know, that if you're concerned, well, what am I going to do when I'm not working and sitting in an office cubicle and wishing I wasn't there anymore? Life can give you all kinds of things to do if you just are open to that.
Exactly. And I often think how many other good potential opportunities passed me by simply because I wasn't paying attention and watching for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now let's get on to some changes in 2016 and work in the tidying up in there.
Yeah. So, my latest article for lgbtSr&nbsp, which I also, cross-posted on my own website,
Mm-hmm.
has to do with the topic of, well, downsizing, but a lot of times people think of downsizing as I'm moving to a smaller house. In our case, we've decided we don't want to move. We like our current house. We're probably going to stay here 5 to 10 more years at least, but we're tired of all the junk that's in our house. And so we want to downsize our possessions as if we were going to move to a smaller house.
Mm-hmm.
And so we bought this book that you mentioned, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying. And we're going to attempt to follow, the guidelines in that book for getting rid of things. And just in a nutshell, her philosophy is, rather than tidying room by room or location by location, in other words, rather than saying, well, today I'm going to clean up my desk. Okay, next week I'm going to clean out this closet. Or whatever. She says instead go by categories. So go through all your clothes at once. So, because we have clothes stuffed all over the house. I mean, we've got our regular closet, we've got our off-season clothes in a couple of our guest bedroom closets, and other stuff in drawers and here and there. I've even got sweaters in a box up in the attic. But get all the clothes in one place, throw them in a big pile in the middle of the floor, and then pick up every article one at a time, hold it in your hand, and see if it sparks joy. And if it does, keep it, and if it doesn't, let it go.
Yeah.
And it remains to be seen for me whether an article of clothing can spark joy for me, because I'm not a real touchy-feely kind of person. I'm a logical thinker, and it's like, but anyway, still, I think I'm going to be able to easily pare down at least half of the clothing I own, maybe more. Maybe I'll surprise myself. Another thing is all these books on my bookshelf. I'm going to gather books that are stuffed here and there all over the place, get them all out at once, go through and say, which ones might I ever refer to and read again? Because, so often, we read books and they may be really good books, but how often do you go back and reread the same book? A lot of times they just end up sitting on your shelves for years and years and years at a time, kind of like, this is my record of all the books I've ever read in my life, and my dad was like that. So at any rate, she says, go by category, not by location. And there's a specific order that she wants you to go through as well. And one reason you start with clothes is because a lot of people can get themselves to get rid of clothes pretty easily.
Yeah.
And you end up with the things that really are sentimental value, like that collection of various brochures and all that stuff from a vacation that you took 20 years ago, or something that, came from your deceased parents' home that you still own, or something someone gave you for your birthday 15 years ago, or whatever. Because she says, once you're in the rhythm of getting rid of stuff, then you'll be able to do that stuff. Whereas if you started off with that stuff, you'd be doomed. So anyway, but we're really serious about really decluttering our home, and the biggest reason for me is I look around my desk and there's just paper and all kinds of stuff piled everywhere on my desk. And every time I sit down to write, I get distracted by all this stuff because it calls out and says, oh, you need to deal with me. Oh, you need to deal with me. And all this clutter, clutters my mind. It clutters me visually and all that stuff. And it's an impediment for writing.
Yeah.
And, and apparently just having all this stuff around your house everywhere is an impediment to you doing the things that you really want to do. So that's why I want to get rid of it all.
Well, good luck. I'm very much thinking along the same lines. I have the opposite problem. I throw stuff out all the time, and then I'm like, oh my God, what did I do with that? Like, I throw things out paperwork that I should keep, because I don't like stuff. I don't like, I've moved twice. I've moved and given up pretty much everything, except what might fit in a small van, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not attached to things, but we've got a lot of stuff now. And I went to a Boxing Day party, and everybody was talking about that book because I gave it to Frank, and I said, "Here, read this." The last thing I wanted to say about that was that I'm a room-to-room guy. I know that because nobody's really has like the final word. This is her method, and I would definitely try it. But I'm a room guy. Like when I clean house, and I can see myself doing this as downsizing too, or decluttering, I just do room by room. Like I will devote myself to the living room one day and the kitchen the next, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and see, that makes more sense to me too. So, and like you say, we're all different as human beings, and there may be some cultural differences between Japan and the US as well. So
their apartments are the size of of a cedar closet.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, so there are certain parts of her thing, like she greets her house when she walks in every day. It's like, I don't know, I can't quite wrap my head around that. But
right, and she thanks her purse for holding all of her cosmetics.
Yes, exactly. Anyway, but we're going to give it a try. Any progress I make is good progress. So, that's great. So
I think so too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a little bit at a time. It might take 20 years, but it can be done.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what other 2016 things did you want to touch on? Or
yeah, sure. I have this feeling, and I get the impression from you that you do too, that 2016 is going to be a fantastic year, and it's going to be kind of a breakthrough year, in a number of ways. And so I'm launching several different new things for Retire Fabulously, and I hope I'm not biting off more than I can chew and all that. But I guess better to aim high and get some of the things done than to not have high goals and not get anything done.
Yeah.
But so I've got several things that I'm really planning to do. One thing that I just launched that I hope doesn't become just a big time sink is a daily quote. There are people who like that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go out and find a beautiful, free, public domain type photo. I over the years, I've collected quite a few quotes. Many of them have to do with retirement. Others just have to do with living a better life or evolving as a person, which are all themes that I'm into. And so I'm picking a quote every day, setting it to a really nice background, and I've started an email subscription list. I put them up on a new page on my website, and I post them on Facebook. And the main reason is, people like to forward that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so number one, it keeps Retire Fabulously in people's consciousness. And if they start forwarding quotes to other people when they get a good one, or they just really like the picture it's with or whatever, that will spread the word of my website. And so I'm trying that, the daily quote. I want to launch a weekly podcast series called, the working title is Lifestyles of the Happily Retired.
Oh, I like that.
Yes. And I want to find people who have successfully reinvented themselves in one way or the other and are living a fulfilling retirement.
Mm-hmm.
And this may be corporate people who are now exercising their passions for writing or music or art or something like that. Maybe it's the people who are out traveling the world, and I have a couple friends who are doing just that. Maybe it's somebody who started a new nonprofit or a new business of some sort or whatever, doing something they really want to do. It can be anything, but the common theme is somebody who has left behind what they had to do for a living and is now doing something that they're really passionate about and having a very happy and fulfilling life. So I'd like to start doing a weekly podcast, much like yours, in which I interview that sort of people. So for anyone who's listening here today, if you or somebody you know fit this description, please get in touch with me, and I'd love to talk to you. You can just send me an email at dave@retirefabulously.com.
Excellent.
So there's that. And another thing I want to do, which you suggested, Mark, and this is just excellent, it was really eye-opening for me, is I want to investigate getting my columns syndicated out to other websites. And a few that I have my eye on are nextavenue.org. Huffington Post they actually have two categories. They have voices, or they have gay voices and voices over 50. And both of those are editors, and I know how to get in touch with the editors. I have found that out. Mm-hmm. And AARP, Jeff actually contacted them on my behalf. And there are a couple other places that seem to have regular retirement columnists that I'm going to pitch. And so I want to try to get my weekly articles syndicated out to some of these places, and I have you to thank for that suggestion.
Well, yes, and it spurs me to try and actually write a regular column, because I don't have anything to syndicate. But at LGBT Senior, I've got you, so you can use that as a starting point. But the Savvy Senior, his name's Jim Miller. He lives in Oklahoma. I've never met him. And the book reviewer, Terry Schlickenmeyer, does the book reviews. And those two people have, 150, 200 clients, so that you don't have to charge very much because you've got so many people paying you. And it's the Dallas Voice, Philly Gay News, and all kinds of stuff. So it's really intriguing. I just don't have something to try and pursue that with, but I'm really would totally encourage you to do this.
Yeah, and you just mentioned a key point for me too. I mean, for the last 2 years, I have tried to get a column out every week, and sometimes I'm more successful than others. And this is I'm going to really have to keep my nose to the grindstone now and get a column out every week. And it's also led me to create a schedule of upcoming articles and what I'm going to write about each week and everything. So hopefully I won't have writer's block in any given week. And I've got a channel or a pipeline of articles, that I'm working on. So hopefully I'll be better disciplined in that regard.
Now, I'm just mindful of the time. I want to mention your book for sure. And is there any wrap up stuff you wanted to put out there aside from my panic at the stock market?
Well, here's the thing about the stock market. Every single time it dips like that, it comes back up. And
I know. Because Frank always says you don't lose money unless you sell.
That's exactly right.
But I worry that now I got to work for another 2 years to get this money back that I just lost.
No, because it's all about the number of shares you own. The price will come back.
Okay.
Every time you read a headline that says, the S&P 500 has hit a new high or the Dow has hit a new high, that basically says every past stock dip has recovered and now it's higher than ever. So it'll come back.
All right. Thank you.
Don't worry about it.
You just made my day.
Good. So anyway, so the book, I have one book out, Design Your Dream Retirement, How to Envision, Plan for, and Enjoy the Best Retirement Possible. I have plans to write 2 books this coming year. I mean, ideally 3, but I think I might really be biting off more than I can chew. But I want to write a book that's focused on how people can choose where the best place to retire for them might be.
Mm-hmm.
Then, totally off the topic of retirement, I want to write a book called How to Become a Wedding Officiant, because I got up running really quickly with that, and believe it or not, there aren't very many books on that topic out there now. And so I thought, well, that might be a great opportunity. So in addition to everything else I've talked about, I hope to write 2 books because I really enjoyed the process of writing Design Your Dream Retirement. And I'm sure you can attest that there's just a real rush that sweeps over you when you put a new book out on the market. It's
always a good feeling.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what 2016 looks like for me. Hopefully I'll be able to get at least a good portion of that done, but I have high hopes.
Well, I'm sure you will, and it is going to be a good year. 2015 was weird. I'm glad it's over, but I have really good feelings about 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So let everybody know your URL again so they can find you.
Absolutely. It is RetireFabulously.com, and you can go there and either subscribe to my weekly articles and updates or subscribe for my daily quotes.
Yes, and I'm really happy to have your columns regularly at lgbtSr&nbsp also. So anyways, Dave, it's been a real treat to have you back on, and I know you're coming back because there's always something to talk about. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend, and it was really good to get caught up.
Great. Thank you, Mark, and it's always a pleasure. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.